question kay Rod, do you recall when the last time we were rice self-sufficient and we were not importing?
We started importing rice 1977, 1978. Nagsimula yun. Kaya lang, nagkaroon ng oil crisis noon, nagkaroon ng tinatawag na sa Middle East, na nabawi yun. Pero more or less, naging stable ang price ng bigas at saka naging self-sufficient tayo. Hindi tayo nag-import, hindi nauwi sa importation.
Even up to 84,
yes,
85.
Hindi tayo
No, but there was a time between 83 and 86 na, di ba, nagmamais tayo dahil nagka-problema tayo.
I remember that was
Early
1974. That was 1974. Kasi yun ang nangyari sa Middle East War. Nagkaroon ng OPEC.
So that was not 83, that was 74.
Hindi, 83 yun. That was 74, nagmais tayo, correct yan. Pero ang problema dyan, immediately na maalis si Presidente Marcos dyan, dinismantle lahat yung mga subsidy na yun. May mga PD dyan, supportado, hindi abrogated dyan. Ang problema ngayon, for instance, kagaya ng pinag-uusapan, sino magtatanim? Magtatanim ka, ang presyo ng fertilizer, magkano sa sako? 1.6. Isamantalang ang kaba ng palay, wala pa 1,000. Bumili ka na lang ng patuka sa manok, pinakakain sa manok. At saka bumili ka ng bigas na kinakain ng tao. Malaking diferensya, 2 piso.
Okay, let's go back to the historian, economist, labor justice fighter. Rene, ang lawak nito. So how do you summarize all this? Then we'll go back to June. Dahil kanina, he was pouring out the other issues. Go ahead.
Well, let me repeat. Where just revolution from the center of Marcos, he had this grand agro-industrial vision for the Philippines, which was really every iteration of the Japanese experience, the Korean experience, and now being repeated on a larger scale by China and to a certain extent by Vietnam. Lahat yung mga countries na may industrial vision, may agricultural vision. But unfortunately, he compromise with the World Bank, IMF. He allowed the neoliberals.
Anong year yan? Yung compromise na yan?
I think yung mga mid-70s.
Mid-70s.
And then, nang pinakain niya ng isang daliri, lumaki ang papel. The World Bank declared the Philippines as an area of concentration. They set up the consultative group of creditor countries for the Philippines. Nagpalit-palit na pangalan, but last week, NEDA had a meeting with the Philippine Development Forum. Essentially, it's the same group. Anyway, nagpatuloy ho yan. And then pagdating ng 1980, inintroduce nila yung Structural Adjustment Program, dismantling of tariff protection, dismantling ng mga import restrictions.
Ni Rod.
And then yung dismantling of the
That
role
happened
of
after 86.
After 86.
No, but nag-start yan noong 1980. Dismantling of the role of the state.
Sila Biratang,
Yes.
Sino
And
ba?
then,
Si Jerry Sikat?
Jerry Sikat. And then pinagpatuloy noong 1986. So we even had a series of structural adjustment loans. Ang tawag nila SAL 1, SAL 2, SAL 3. Pag inulit-ulit nyo sa Tagalog, yun ang ginawa nila sa economy. And then, and then pagdating ng 1990s, ay kwan na, privatization, liberalization, up to now.
Okay.
That improves the summary.
Both Rod and Rene mentioned subsidy, and you were saying yung subsidy in other countries still continues today.
Yeah, they still exist. You know, Japanese farmers are supposed to be the richest, if not the richest. You know, they even import farmers from here to plant their vegetables. No? And they're still subsidized. The fertilizer industry there is still subsidized. Tama rin ho yung sinasabi nila kanina na PD 1144, which created the fertilizer and pesticide, it's still there. It's a very powerful PD. You know, it can go into developmental projects and so forth. That's how we develop PhilFos through that PD and so. But unfortunately now, hindi masyadong active yung doon, no? Because so yun ang problema. So in fact, I must say this, that Vietnam, Thailand copied our blueprint, and at the time
our blueprint during Marcos's time,
and Tanco freely gave it out because the objective then of Marcos and Tanco was to have a strong ASEAN group, you know, to battle the big guys, no, even the US and so forth. No, so I don't know, that maybe that's why the World Bank got into the picture too. And now you can see that Vietnam and Thailand and Indonesia are very strong producers of these commodities of rice, and we really gave it to them.
We have focused on agriculture. Let's go to industry. You're mentioning Pasar. while we were off the air. And I want to also bring the idea of the connection of industrialization with agriculture. For example, from Pasar, the byproduct is
sulfuric acid.
Which is required in...
Which is a basic raw material for fertilizer production.
Okay, I'll go back to Rene. So the industrial program, still, Marcos said that in 1981. You said he started that, 11 industrial projects. What happened to it?
You see, Marcos should have introduced that in the 70s. And then way ahead, Sina Mahathir introduced that in the 80s. And then ang Korea in the 70s. And Japan in the 50s. I'm talking here of what we, in economics, what they call as industrial policy. And connected to industrial policy is the concept of competitive advantage. A country may have no comparative advantage in doing something like steel making, but if it acquires the technology, if it acquires the skills, the know-how, and it keeps on working on it, it can develop the competitive advantage, similar to what Toyota did. In the 1950s, wala siyang comparative advantage, but 2 or 3 decades after, na-achieve niya. That's what China and Vietnam are doing.
No.
Unfortunately, we have a bunch of economists, we call them neoliberals, who do not believe in industrial policy, and they are supported by the World Bank. And I'm na-consolidate itong structural adjustment program of the 80s and up to the present. And that's why I was surprised in the new medium-term plan, some civil society group confronted President Director General Dondon Paderanga about industrial policy, and he said industrial policy will not work in the Philippines. So, and that's it. That's the history of this country.
Is it too late? A very short response, so I can go to the other guests again.
Yeah.
Is it too late to go into industrialization?
Why not? You see, for example, I'll give you a very good example. We are into electronics assembly in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, up to the present, almost 4 decades. How come we never graduate like Samsung into higher value products, produce our own electronics product? Samsung used to be a subcontractor of Sanyo, of Japan.
Okay, let's move on to the post-Marcos era, to the Cory era, up to the present. Rod?
Well, actually, there is meron sinabi dito si Dr. Ofreneo na sinabi niya, nag-introduce ng industrialization sometime na 80s. Hindi ba too late? Dapat 70s yan. O, sabihin na lang natin, nagsimula ng 80s yan, kasi sinusundan ko rin yung libro ni Dr. Lichauco. Kailan pa? Pagdating na, sinimula na nga, tinanggal pa eh. Katapos, hindi na rin nasindan. So kasi ang laging question, ang nagsimula nga sa 70s, but the fact is, we started this. A good example is Cocochem. Ang United Coconut Chemicals, si Presidente Marcos nagsimula niya, nasimula ngayon, hindi na tayo mag-e-export ng copra, raw copra. Refined copra na export natin. Hindi pa nasayahan dyan, ni-refine pa, dinistill to 14 chemicals yan. Sa 14 chemicals yan. Kaya mga shampoo natin, coconut-based lahat yan. Ano ginawa nila? Dinismantle nila.
Okay. Si June was saying earlier before our taping started, anong solusyon? Have you thought through it, and have you come up with a solution?
Well, there's certain, I think fertilizer, baka yung manufacturing side medyo mahirap na because China, when China got into the picture, nag-iba na talagang laro.
Quick response. Yes or no?
No, sa agriculture, let's bring back the integrated approach.
Maybe
the blueprint that he was talking about.
Okay.
Kasi po rin sinasabi niya dyan, bakit nga pala naman bakit nga meron tayong fertilizer, yung Felfus na yan. Meron yung factory, alam mo kung bakit tumigil yan? Dahil nga sa deliberalization, tinambakan tayo ng mura fertilizer.
Very quickly, is it too late to go back into a car manufacturing program? Kasi napupuno na ng second-hand cars tayo galing Japan at saka South Korea.
No, this country has to reinvent itself, and we have to start from where we are. Hindi naman natin kayang i-produce yung lahat ng mga heavy industry or basic industry. But whatever we have, we add value. I-integrate mo yung electronics, i-integrate mo itong program, itong call center, go to higher value added. Otherwise, it will become like garments transition industry. And then yung ating mga mining, I will allow mining only if there is a condition that they will go into processing.
Correct. Well, let me add to that. Mayroon sinabi lang kasi, mabuti na banggit dito ni Professor of Reneo yung car industry. There is a PD na inisyo ni Presidente Marcos, 30% ng locally assembled car ay manggagaling dito. Kaya buhay na
Yung
buhay
parts,
na,
yung parts,
parts,
yung
ha?
parts, oh.
Kaya buhay na buhay dito ang radiator. Ang number one na radiator dito na manufacturer ng local manufacturer na radiator ng UE Hardware. Ang sa salamin, Republic Glass. At saka sa mga lining, sa mga rubber lining, rubber tubing, sa mga lahat yan, 30% required yan. Wala tayo, di tayo nag-i-import ng kotse na CBU. CKD, ini-import natin, ina-assemble dito yan.
Completely knocked down.
Oh yes, ina-assemble dito yan. Nawala lahat yun. Pati dito yung Asahi Republic, nawala rito. Pati yung UE, sarado. Alam mo, mga empleyado na yung gumagawa lang ng radiator. May 3,000, sarado lahat yun.
Very
Pati
quickly,
kaputso.
does anybody have an update on the Malaysia's car manufacturing industry? Because people were very pessimistic, maliit ang market nila and so on. How is it doing now? Does anybody have an update there?
Ako, may yung Proton, alam mo.
Tuloy pang Proton ngayon.
Sa Malaysia na lang. Kasi alam mo, ganito yan eh. Alam mo, pag import ng kotse, meron tinatawag ditong grupo, cartelize ang pricing ng kotse. Pag halimbawa 2 liter, pare-parehong presyo niyan. Halimbawa, 2 liter, pag-usapan natin, Toyota, Honda, Ford. Halos price range niyan. Ba't ka bibili ng gawa ng China, kadarating lang yan, i-pre-ratio tinapat doon yun.
Okay.
Sino nagdidikta niyan? Yung local association nila.
I don't want to focus, but I just on the car industry. I just wanted to update. No, I was there just around the turn of this century, and sabi nila, we're satisfied. Basta't yung dollar drain namin that is saved by producing it ourselves is enough justification. Is that correct, Rene?
Dito nga pumapasok ang industrial policy. Yung maliit lang ang Malaysia, I think 20 million,
20 million,
people.
oh.
Yes. To ensure na mag-grow yung kanilang car industry, nirequire nila ang government under Mahathir, lahat ng cars should be Lada o Proton, yung kanyang WADA yata ang pangalan.
Sariling
So,
gawa nila.
Ikalwa, you cannot allow too many players. Ang nangyari no 1990s, we allowed too many players. So nasira pati yung mga Hyundai Kia nag-alisan dito sa Pilipinas. Yung kay Miss Elena Lim, you remember? So anong nadira? Ang labanan ngayon sa Pilipinas ng car assembly is how many models?
Very quickly again, steel industry natin, anong status? Rene, Rod, and June, if you have anything here?
Yung steel industry ho natin ay talagang yan ay urong-sulong tayo dyan. And then remember, it was doing well when the military took over, but when they
Marcos time ba yun?
Marcos time.
Okay.
Then they gave it up, then nagkaroon ng privatization, then nagkaroon ng several buyers.
Oh, and then they looted it. They plundered the equipment and so on, di ba?
Yes.
Oh.
And then ngayon nakabili Mittal, yung Indian. Pero ang issue was it nagwo-work ba sila
Are they
rito?
producing or they are using it as an excuse to import?
Yes,
diba?
so mayroong ganong issue. In the meantime, you have a steel corporation dito sa Batangas. But ang problem is, the only way they can survive is government has to provide some
very quick
assistance.
again, because sige John.
No, I just want to say, just going back to the agri, kasi the basic statistics, agri is still the bigger part of the GNP. I think the trend is towards microfinancing, but the credibility, I think, has to be established by Land Bank, and we shouldn't forget that since it's been privatized, the farmers are entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs. They will, tama yung sinabi ko kanina, pag tumaas yung inputs at walang support in terms of financial and hindi talaga sila and I think our leaders in government don't see that because they're questioning why the farmers don't plant 5 tons of corn or 5 tons of rice when they should make money. They're entrepreneurs. At the end of the day, why would they plant 5 tons when the risk is high? When they can do with 3 tons and they're just in the middle ground. So again, government somehow has to come in to support this. Maybe the solution is through yung microfinancing through the rural banks. But again, it has to be an integrated approach.
Okay, questions are two. One, can you really finance a new economic policy if you're paying 700 billion every year for debt amortization? And number two, would we still be this dependent on the OFW market if we started industrializing again and supporting agriculture? Let's start with Rene, to Rod, and to June again.
Ang bigat naman ng mga tanong mo. Anyway, yung on the first
That's
question.
why you're here.
Yung unang tanong mo, yung tungkol sa utang, let's simply adopt the Argentinian solution. After several changes of presidency, si Kirchner, yung lalaki, sabi
Kirchner,
niya, World Bank, IMF, may utang kami sa inyo, but we will pay at our own pace. And then sinabi rin niya, babayaran lang namin dyan yung kaya namin bayaran. And ikalwa, we will not pay it in total because alam namin na inflated yan. So 20% lang.
At saka kumita na sila, di ba?
Oo, at kumita na sila.
Ganyan din ang ginawa ng Iceland doon sa issue ng utang nila.
Oo, tama. So, what happened? Argentina now is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, not only in Latin America. Grabe yung recovery because of that policy. Ano ba yung second question mo?
Second question is, will we be this dependent on the OFW market if we started this industrialization and agricultural development again?
Yeah, that's what I was telling a reporter yesterday. Sabi ko, nasa ng evacuation program for the economy. Mag-uwian dito mga OFW. But sabi ko, maganda itong opportunity. On the other hand, may magkikrisis tayo kung sasamantalahin ng gobyerno na i-overhaul ang Philippine economic directions.
Okay,
Otherwise, wala mangyayari. Babagsak tayo.
Let's go to Rod. We are now summing up kasi patapos na ang ating
Saka, number one, ang first problem dyan is, of course, sabi nga dito, labor na nakita isa sa solution dyan is, we have to deregulate wage. Medyo malungkot yan. Pero,
wala ba kayong gera dyan? He wants to deregulate wage. Are you for regulating wage and minimum wage? And, kasi deregulation
mahaba
is
lang
no minimum.
debate. Kasi sa akin, it's one way of promoting employment.
Maganda yung debate. But very
pero
quickly.
mahaba lang yan. Isa sa mga suggestion yun na parang ma-minimize yung tinatawag OFW natin is to regulate wage to promote employment. And second, we have to be realistic. Kailangan magbalik tayo somehow to a degree of protection. Hindi po pwedeng trade liberalization whether you like it or not. A good case na lang ang kuryente. Ba't ka nga naman pala bakit hindi ang kinalulugi ng National Steel Corporation ng mahal ng kuryente?
Okay.
Yan ang number one. Tapos, sarado sila ngayon.
Before I go to June, I go back to this deregulated or regulated wage. What's your reaction?
Well, mahaba hong discussion niya.
yes.
But kung gusto mong pumunta sa ganong regime, you have to deregulate or you have to allow full bargaining right, whether individual or collective ng workers.
Is China regulated or deregulated today?
Well, actually, China now is moving towards more and more regulation in the labor
but
regime.
It's beginning from deregulated labor wages.
And then China now has introduced universal social protection.
Okay, that's another long story. We'll have a separate program for that. June?
I think one of the basic problems that I've seen, and I think Tanco had started in, we should always look at farming as a social entrepreneur type of a work. So, unfortunately, some of the people in governance na yung mga politics, they look at it as charity or as a chance to gain, prestige in so yung project na nilo-launch nila, like yung mga buy one take one, yung mga is actually intended to enhance the present regime or whatever. Si Marcos and Tanco were thinking 25 years, so the program that they put in place, unfortunately, it was intended only for that era. Hindi tinuloy. That's they're now trying to revive it. Wala na eh. We've lost the chance. It has to be a completely different kind of integrated approach. It's not definitely going to be like the way it was before. I mentioned microfinancing a bit earlier, but Land Bank has to take the lead, I understand, there before the other banks will come in. Because the banks were quite frank to me. Sabi na, June, sometimes it's consumer market that's making money now, the cars. We have, by necessity, we cannot let agri catch up with us because the entire economy might go down, sabi na sa akin. I think I vaguely, and I understood what they're saying. It's okay to help the poor. Again, you see, they look at farming as a charity work, but we cannot let it drag us down. So there has to be a separate program for agri. separate from the consumer market of the financing institutions. How to do that, I really don't know. I think they're in a better position.
Okay. Well, so now we come back to the question. And I wanted to make this point. The discussion and the debate should not be between the personality of Marcos or Cory. It is the programs of the two or during their period. And from our discussion here, Marcos and Bong Tangco are smiling in heaven or wherever they are, and Cory Aquino must be turning in her grave. But we come to this now. Should we really look back to the Marcos and Cory time and compare? And which direction should we take? 1 minute each.
Or less than a minute. Masyado na hong overdue sa Pilipinas ang isang full-blown economic revolution na magsisimula sa pagbabago ng isip at direction. So, let the revolution begin.
Idagdag ko, 10 seconds. Is Aquino III going to be able to do this?
Well, ito ang malaking hamon sa kanya if he wants to survive. Tingnan niya mabuti yung economic plan niya.
Okay, I'll go to Rod and just, I'm sure, follow through yan. Tanong ko, if hindi niya gawin ito and the warning ni Rene is, if he is to survive, when do you think would be the last call, last 2 minutes for him to make that change? A year from now, 2 years from now?
I'm not really that optimistic.
Oh, you're not optimistic?
Wala akong
Okay.
nakikitang pagbabago. It will be the same all over again, similar to what happened to sa nanay niya, gan kay President Trump. Wala mangyayari. Una-una, let's be honest also, Pilipino rin may problema eh. Nakakahiya na sabihin, problema rin tayo eh.
But it's always the leadership eh. The Filipino can only do so much as a citizen. Ano? Pero yung mga patakaran, parang nakahawla siya doon sa mga patakaran na yun. So
Kasi
we really have to go back to the
malaki
leadership.
talaga. Tama ka, pero in that sense. Pero ang tanong nga, paano nga? Makikita mo naman, binanggit lang dito, ang priority ng tao, consumer items. Yun ang problema dyan eh.
Dahil lang media natin, yun ang tinutulak ng tinutulak.
Yun ang nagiging.
Diba?
Kaya nga, ang conclusion, medyo mahirap yata magbigay na ako ng mga prediction.
Ayaw mo bang banggitin yung salitang revolusyon?
Of course, ayaw ko na lang, alam mo na yun. Pero gusto ko naman ng pagbabago. Pero walang nangyayari, may edad na rin tayo nito eh. Tumanda na lang tayo dito eh. Pero wala rin eh.
Okay, last
I
minute.
may be biased because I started working time of Marcos, but you know, during the time, these guys had a perfect marketing machinery, you know, because basically, you know, you have to market the idea, you know, and do internal marketing within the bureau. I think I don't blame anymore the presidents. I think ang problema natin is the existing bureaucracy, how to revamp that, kasi they've got, I call it, they got stocked up with the old they have to reinvent themselves into a new marketing strategy that the Filipinos will like. If you know, in time ni Marcos, meron siyang sariling isang bansa,
Isang diwa.
that was all thought out by his people, you know. And it really caught up, and it really brought up the industry.
Yes.
But yeah, I think ang problema ng the president is how to handle bureaucracy, because I think now the bureaucracy is even in control. They control them, and I'd like to think that each president should really lead to the next generation. One president cannot really solve this entire. And I think Marcos had that in plan. You know,
Last 10 seconds is for me to say that I think the right ideas and the right programs is not owned by anyone.
Yeah.
And even the revolution from the center can be adopted by Aquino III because it is correct in its industrial and agricultural programs. We have no more time. Maraming salamat. And again, it's neither Libya nor Singapore. Let's hope to be the true greater Philippines. Again. Okay, maraming salamat. Of course, pumapalakpak na si Kabansang